What's up guys? Welcome back to Tidal Gardens. Now if you're new to this channel and you're only familiar with our new building, let me introduce you to the OG building. This is the greenhouse. This greenhouse was built way back in 2002. So yes, Tidal Gardens has been a thing in some form for about 20 years now. Each year that goes by, I make some improvement to it, and it gets a little bit less greenhouse-like, but make no mistake, it does get a lot better. I get asked all the time if I'm going to take this building down now that I have this new building, and short answer is no. For sentimental reasons alone, I would keep this building up forever because it's allowed me to leave a corporate desk job and essentially become a coral farmer. The greenhouse is like made man status for that. But being an entrepreneur, things have to make some modicum of sense financially. And without getting into too many of the details, I can say that if you just imagine a sum of money that this greenhouse needs to generate to justify its business existence, it likely does that and possibly much more. It does it to such an extent that it makes sense to put more investment into it each year, which brings me to my latest story. This past year, in November 2021, I wanted to upgrade my existing fan. The previous fan wasn't particularly high quality. It came with the original greenhouse kit. It's made of some kind of cheap steel that rusts really quickly. In about 3 to 5 years, it starts to just come apart. I've replaced it a couple times with the same model fan and just put up with the fact that it would fall apart after a few years. In an attempt to upgrade, I bought a different brand of exhaust fan made of galvanized steel with the thinking that this is going to hold up a lot better. Well, the material choice was infinitely better. The design of the fan, though, was a little bit underwhelming, and the fan itself was really bouncy. The supports were thin, and there weren't nearly enough of them. Long story short, I've been side-eyeing this thing for a while now, but in late June, the fan just died. Now remember, it's only been a little over 6 months, most of which was not even running because it was winter. So it failed after running for only, 3 months tops? That is some legit garbage reliability right there. The problem with this exhaust fan going down in the summer like this is that it's absolutely crucial to keep the temperatures down. The greenhouse gets cooking hot, and even though that we have other methods of cooling, such as geothermal, rooftop whirlybird vents, and other smaller fans, that main exhaust fan is the one that does the bulk of the cooling. All of those other technologies just take the edge off of the heat, but none of them alone could handle it. And arguably all of those other ones together can't handle it. So yeah, a fan failure is really, really bad. Also, we are still very much in pandemic land, so I can't just get another fan. I looked into some places, they were estimating like a 3-month delivery time frame if I wanted to get a replacement. Also, 90+ degree weather was expected within 48 hours. Clearly another fan isn't going to show up, and I made the executive decision to paint the entire greenhouse to try to knock out as much thermal gain that it would receive from the sun. Essentially, trying to un-greenhousify the greenhouse. I'd also grab up every other fan that we had laying around and try to make it work, but the big job was to paint the structure. I looked this stuff up online, and for big commercial greenhouses, they whitewash it with what amounts to a kalkwasser spray. In really, really big greenhouses, like we're talking acres, they would do this job by helicopter. The kalkwasser whitewash would last only 1 season, but it was cheap and fast to apply. For this building, I was looking for something a little bit more permanent, so I went to Sherwin-Williams and got a good primer and the glossiest white enamel that they had. This is not something I want to be doing every year. It was no fun at all to paint this building, but it did get done, and dude, it made such a big difference. It made the kind of difference where I openly wondered why the heck I didn't do this like 15 to 20 years ago. It would have made life so much easier because cooling the greenhouse in the summer is a major ordeal. Normally when the sun heats up the greenhouse, the metal structure of the building gets nuclear hot to the touch. And now with this coating, it feels cold. Want to hear the funniest part of the story though? the stupid fan started working again. The fan died over the weekend in June, so the following Monday, I wanted to show the staff that it did in fact die. Lo and behold, it fired right back up, making me look like a crazy person that just painted an entire building for nothing. So the thing that made it malfunction in the first place, it turned out that a couple of the electrical contacts on the fan's wiring got exposed to the moisture. Just cleaning them up and putting a more robust gasket in place solved that issue. So now, in addition to a painted building, we have a fully operational main exhaust fan. Gotta say though, it feels incredible in there now. It is so pleasant. To put it into perspective, when it's 90 something degrees out, it feels almost chilly inside, and the water temperature in the tanks stays right around 77 to 78 degrees. And this is completely unheard of. Usually when we get into the 90s, the tanks climb into the low 80s, and some of the corals can really struggle at those temperatures. Not anymore though. It would have to get insanely blazing hot outside to make me worry now, because things are really great after that paint job. Alright, switching gears a bit. Going forward, there are a few things that I would like to do to this structure. First, I am all about having redundant systems. I already have redundant heating systems in this greenhouse, but as you can see from my earlier freakout, I don't have a true redundant cooling system. Like I said before, we have these other cooling technologies, but none of it really matters if that main exhaust fan goes down like that. None of those other things by themselves can handle full summertime heat. To combat this, I plan on doing two things. One is to hook up a secondary exhaust fan that can handle the greenhouse on its own. So if this one does fail again, at least I have a backup installed that can run while the main fan is being repaired. Second, I plan on beefing up the capacity of the geothermal cooling system, so even if the temperatures were to climb past what the fans could handle, don't even know what that's going to feel like. The geothermal system has the size and scale to pull those temperatures back down. The next thing I want to do is clean up our hanging fixtures. Yes guys, those are steel fences over the tanks, and they've been over them for about 10 years now. They did a great job for the time, but this whole operation is getting a little bit more polished every day. I want to move over to what we've built over this tank you see here, with a floating canopy and the lights nicely protected underneath. This greenhouse has a lot of condensation, especially in the wintertime, and this canopy design protects the lights from getting dripped on randomly. It's also much cleaner implementation for wiring and maintenance. We've already gone and installed Unistrut infrastructure above, so when we finally are able to do this install, it'll be fairly easy to do. Lastly, I'm looking at these shade cloths above many of these tanks, and most of them can be taken down. Since the paint job is essentially doing most of that work now, I might keep up some of the Aluminet shade cloths because they serve a dual function of cooling in the summer and heating in the winter. The reflective aluminum material bounces infrared light back down at night as it radiates off of all of the surfaces in the tanks and everything like that. It's a minor heating effect, but in the super cold winter, every little bit helps. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy reefing.